All right. Well, good evening. Thank you all for joining us. We're having conversations with Integral alumni. And this evening, actually, it's my pleasure. One of my fellow classmates is joining us this evening. So just in quick introductions, my name's George Emmons. I'm the class of 2012. And then I'll turn it over to my partner in crime to just introduce himself and what year he was an Integral and kind of what his journey's been after the program.
Hello, I'm Joseph Wright, in class with George, obviously, like he just said, class 2012. So what I've been doing, let's see, after the program, right? Is that was your question after?
Yeah. What you been up to?
I've been all over the place. So let's see, after graduation, I went to the Philippines for about, I want to say 4 months. And I was there working at Bahay Pagasa with the Brothers of the Christian Schools, doing work there, helping children in conflict with the law. And then I came back, and after that experience, I wanted to devote my life a little bit more to teaching. And I actually became a Christian brother. Up until novitiate, I was a postulant. So I taught for about 4 or 5 years. I was a teacher in high schools and secondary. For secondary education, and then I also did I did summer schools and did a lot more studying of theology, and then I think after about 4 or 5 years I left. I'm currently employed by Otis Elevator. I'm an elevator technician. So right now I work in elevator modernization. So I take old equipment that was maybe manufactured and installed in some high-rise buildings in the 70s and 80s, and now I'm installing new equipment, state-of-the-art from Otis, and that is all high-rise. So working on buildings 50, 60 stories tall. So it's a lot. You have to know electrical. You have to know electrical theory. Circuit tracing, all sorts of stuff. You have to be comfortable with mechanics, DC drives, all sorts of different knowledge that, like the integral program and all, both mechanical, you're dealing with electrical energy and mechanical output and all sorts of things that end up coming together and making an elevator move. So.
Wow. I mean, forgive me. I always knew they just went up and down. I mean, I had no idea all the different things that are involved in that. That's fascinating.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. It doesn't just And now they have a destination dispatch where you can even walk up sync your phone with the elevator, and the elevator is coming to meet you in the lobby and taking you to the floor that it already knows you want to go to. It's a lot. And all that gets done by us. It's not magic.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, you definitely had quite a journey, Joey. That's really exciting. I feel like me just being a lawyer. That's like pretty straight.
Just a lawyer.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But well, thank you for sharing that, Joey. So I guess the first question is just like start at the beginning. What brought you to the program?
What brought me to the program? That's a multifaceted answer. There's a lot going on there in the mind of a young man, right? In the mind of a teenager as he comes toward the end of his high school career. For me, I'd have to say probably the biggest influence for me, if I'm being honest, would have to be the Christian Brothers. I went to Sacred Heart Cathedral Prep. I had teachers there that were Christian Brothers. Some of them Integral alumni, and I was just impressed with them. The way they could cut through very, very complex, really profound moral questions and issues, and crystallize the problem, and they could do it and explain it with ease, with a grace that I think I found really impressive. And after, a couple of them gave me some books to read, and I would talk about it with them, and they were explaining to me that, that the integral program is exactly what we're doing right now. It's you're reading a book and you're talking about it with people, and you're passing ideas back and forth, and you're trying to get to the truth, not in a way where you're discussing, where you're causing a concussion over someone's head,
Right.
with things,
Right.
but you're on a path with them, and
Yeah.
that's that was impressive to me, and I definitely, they got me hooked, so I thought I would try it, and I'm very happy that I did.
Oh, that's awesome. No, actually, it's actually really interesting because that was kind of the main driving force for me joining the program, was actually the Christian Brothers too, specifically Brother Mel. I remember I was on St. Mary's campus, and I was looking into history, political science, because I wanted to be a lawyer, so I wanted to go down that direction. And I remember talking with Brother Mel, and he said, George, I really think integral would suit you. I think you'd really like integral based on, just what we're talking about. And I said, well, I'll give it a try. I mean, why not? I mean, I'm here at St. Mary's. I'll sit in on a class. And I actually sat in on a Newton class. I didn't know at the time what it was, but I sat in on Sir Isaac Newton, a math class, and I had no idea what was going on. I mean, still to this day, I probably don't really know what was going on with Newton, but I definitely didn't know at that point. But I loved it. Like you were saying, the discussion base, the dialogue, the working towards that common purpose. I loved it, and I was like, "That's it. That's what I have to do. I mean, this is meant for me." And so then, I chose integral right after that. So, I agree. I mean, the Christian Brothers really were very, very and we had them as professors too and tutors. So they were very influential in my development. Definitely, I agree with you.
I think that they know what they're offering. That they know that the right person just gets in the setting of one of those seminars, that they're it's so riveting. I mean, how can you not get sucked in? The conversation. Totally. I mean, how could you not?
Exactly. That's actually a really good segue. So, I mean, we've kind of touched on it, but what did you like most about integral when we were in it?
Again, that's hard. Yeah. It's difficult. I mean, I can give you an answer right now, but it'll change, like Dante's heaven. I mean, it's just you're
constant.
Moving, you know what I mean? You don't want to get stuck and static. It's not good for thought. But I mean,
totally.
Jesus, Lord, I would have to say, what? Right now, I think at least coming into my head right now, I'm finding it how refreshing it was to have a text, an unaltered text that everybody was reading, and that you could all refer to, and be no pun intended, but be on the same page, on the same sentence. In today's world,
totally.
every people are every idea, anything that pops into their head, is just coming out, and it's difficult. Right. It's difficult to get, what would be the right word? A good, not orientation, but a good solid anchor point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From which everybody can go off of. And I don't think that. I think that what a blessing that is, that they have that.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like you said, it's very difficult to see that. Like you said, these days, just piggybacking off that, I love the collaboration. Just like you said, coming in to class, reading a text with like-minded people, just coming in and having that discussion. I loved that. I thought that was the best. And I look back on it fondly, because, that was like the only time that you really were able to just sit down and do that. Like you said, read a text, come in and discuss it with like-minded people, and different readings of the same text, but that was what the dialogue was all about. And we could do that with math, science, and everything. I mean, so it really was. I mean, you look back on it so fondly, that you were able to do that, at one point. I definitely, like I said, I can't imagine it any other way.
With those Platonic texts too. I mean, I don't know how anybody reads Plato by themselves. I mean,
you can't.
You can. I just don't. It just seems. I mean, in the same way you can do a bunch of things by yourself, and how it's much so much more it's profitable to do with other people. I mean, you're gonna.
Oh, it's much more enriching. It's definitely much more enriching.
You're gonna get so much more into that text. That the depth is just
sure, because you're seeing it one way, and then another person seeing it another way. So then you're connecting, and then that leads to other thoughts. And I mean, I definitely recall moments when we were in class where that kind of thing was happening,
Yeah.
and you could just see it unfold. And it was, it was just really fascinating to see
Yeah.
all these different perspectives on one thing, but you come out with a much better understanding than you would have, like you said, just reading it yourself.
Yeah.
No, I
And
totally agree.
and you have, you have people. I remember we had I forget the young lady's name, but we had someone in our class that she had some kind of background in acting or something like that, where she was far more, I'm sitting there reading, going through the arguments, and, trying to
Right.
get these arguments in. She's far more concerned with the actual characters of the dialogue and what they're doing. And I mean, Plato obviously is doing something there too. So what, you have to be able to juggle all of that. And if you're
Right.
missing a piece of that, you're not getting it.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. It's really is fascinating. Definitely. Well, I know we've been talking a little bit, but just to round it out, what do you think? How do you think Integral has prepared you for life after college? And again, I know we've had a lot of loaded questions this evening, but I mean, just right now, kind of what would you say?
I mean, it's right there in the name of the program, right? I mean, you're realizing that everything's related, and you're building at least, especially like with our math classes, right? The math tutorials, Euclid, absolutely. You're realizing, that how these relationships get built off of one another, and how
Sure.
much you're relying on one premise to, for a conclusion, that so you're taking a lot of stuff for granted, and how good it is to go back and re-examine your starting points, to make
Yeah.
sure that all those relate. I mean, certainly, at least with elevators, teaching has a whole other aspect to it, obviously, when you're teaching in
Oh,
a classroom.
sure.
But with elevators, today I just installed, I think it was like 5 or 6 doors, and I mean, you have to do, you have to have this
Wow.
elevator. This elevator is running at 1,200 feet per minute, and if you're off by like a 64th, of an inch,
Wow.
you're gonna have problems, and you have to be sure that that
Wow.
you are making that right. That you're going down every floor, and that everything's going to be the same, and you make a mark, you make you make a key mark, and that's what you're going off. That's your God mark. You're not getting
Wow.
off of that.
It's like the point in Euclid, right? I mean, that's
It's
where you're
like
starting, right?
it's like, I was talking to Ted the other day, and it's so much Euclid, and it's not a joke.
Would you ever have thought that you would ever mention Euclid ever again in your life? I mean, it blows
Yeah,
me away.
I would only, 147. I mean, you gotta give props to 147, right? Um,
Exactly.
Although I thought that there was a construction we did that my memory is failing me now, that I thought was much more fascinating and useful. But and it was after 147. I'll Ted will
Yeah.
kill me. Ted's gonna kill me because I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Oh no,
I'm
me
sure he
too.
knows that he's thinking of it right now.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just really the like how to articulate and how to kind of communicate. How to talk with people, how to listen to them, how to develop your arguments. Like in math, right? Like, I mean, math is an argument, and I never thought of that. I always thought it was just like, okay, you do your math problems, and I didn't like math at all. But you come into integral and you realize it literally is an argument. It's
Mhm.
like a legal argument. It's like a any argument you can make. I mean,
Yeah,
math is an argument, and it's like it was just phenomenal to see how we learned how to communicate with all these different disciplines that you never would have thought you would ever be communicating.
yeah,
And so and listening to other people too was also really important. Like you were saying earlier with how different people read the text. If you're not listening, then you're missing out on a whole part of the conversation, right? So no, I think it. I mean, I can't imagine going going through the going through college in any other way.
yeah.
I can't.
I would do it again. Absolutely.
Definitely. No,
No,
I totally agree.
I don't say that about everything, but I would
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I would if I was, back in the, I'd go back in time or something like that. I would be like,
Sure.
yeah, no, you're right. You're right where you need to be right now. You're good. So
Definitely. It's just the education we got was just timeless. I mean, it withstands the test of time. It's just, it's really great. No, I agree. So any final thoughts that you wanted to share, Joey, before we sign off for the evening?
I guess since I'm speaking maybe to prospective students, right? I guess
Right. I mean, and parents and
parents,
definitely
yeah,
people who are looking into integral.
yeah. I guess the only thing I would maybe suggest that I know that a lot of people don't take as seriously is if you're going to do this, and I highly recommend that you should um, take language seriously, take Greek seriously. It's wonderful. If there's one thing that I think is going to help you, regardless of what you're doing, it's when you take those Greek courses, you begin. It's not just about Greek. You're understanding, language, what and syntax and logic and rhetoric and all of that. And as you're sitting there, breaking apart the Gospel of John, it might not seem like it's for you, but trust me, it's fascinating and it's wonderful. And I would highly recommend taking as much language as you can at that college, especially when you have teachers like Riley and Leo and,
No, the professors are great. I totally agree.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Joey. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time out. It was good to see you again, so, and it was great to have this conversation.
George, let me tell you, it was wonderful to see you. I can't.
Well, hey, thanks again, Joey. Good to see you. Have a good evening.
God bless, George.